34.
They came to collect a debt. He nearly became one himself. Debt collector Ling Kaichen travels to a remote village for what should be a simple job. Get the money, get out, but fate has other plans. Desperate for shelter, he's directed to an abandoned temple. The locals whisper warnings he doesn't understand. That night, he discovers why. The temple is a hunting ground for a life-draining monster who uses beautiful women to lure men to their deaths. One of those women is Shin, a girl whose grave he'll later find behind the very temple where she kissed him. Now Ling must choose: flee and let her remain enslaved to the monster, or descend into the underworld itself to free the ghost he's fallen in love with. Because some debts can't be paid with money, and some collectors refuse to leave without what they came for, even if it costs them their soul. Stick around, because what happens next will shock you, and you won't believe how far he'll go to save her. The film opens with a timid young debt collector named Ling Kaichen, traveling to a remote rural town to collect unpaid debts. He journeys across rivers, mountains, and steep hills. Upon reaching the boundary, it starts raining heavily. Ling takes shelter under a small decapitated shed. While hiding there, he witnesses a fierce man chasing down a group of thieves. One by one, the man beheads them. Ling watches in horror. When the last thief falls, blood splashes onto Ling's face. He freezes in shock. The swordsman walks toward the shed. Terrified, Ling quickly steps away, afraid he might be next. Instead, the man calmly sits down, takes a bun from his bag, and begins eating. He offers one to Ling. Ling accepts it cautiously. Fearful for his life, he forces himself to take a bite. Soon after, the man leaves. Ling spits the food out despite his hunger, gathers his belongings, and continues his journey in the heavy rain. He arrives at an inn owned by one of the debtors. When Ling opens his debt book, he realizes the ink has completely washed away in the rain. With no written proof, the innkeeper refuses to pay and throws him out, threatening violence. Ling asks a passerby where he can find free shelter for the night. The man directs him to an ancient orchid temple, a place long abandoned. Nearby villagers overhear the suggestion and react uneasily. Some whisper that anyone who goes there must be brave. Others fear he will not survive. A few consider warning him, but Ling fails to understand their concern. He thanks them and heads toward the temple. By evening, he reaches the dark forest. Wolves begin to chase him, forcing him to run for his life. He narrowly escapes and finally arrives at the temple grounds, only to witness two men locked in a fierce sword fight outside the entrance. Caught between them, Ling desperately pleads for them to stop. Through sheer panic and luck, he manages to position himself in a way that ends the fight. One of the men, a stern, bearded sword warrior named Yin, demands to know why Ling is there. Ling explains he only needs a place to stay for the night. Yin warns him that the area is dangerous and asks whether he has the courage to stay there. Ling, though frightened, enters the temple anyway. Not far from the temple, the younger swordsman encounters a young woman named Shin, bathing in the river, and approaches her. She seduces him, and he doesn't resist. Suddenly, an unseen creature emerges. Shin quickly pulls away. The unknown creature attacks the man and drains his life from within, reducing him to a skeleton in seconds. Shin watches with quiet sadness, as if she knew this was coming but cannot prevent it. Yin senses the disturbance and arrives immediately. He impales what remains and burns the body to prevent the spirit from wandering. Inside the temple, Ling settles in and tries to make himself comfortable. Strange noises echo from above. Turns out the old temple is haunted. Determined to investigate, he climbs a ladder. Before he can reach the top, a soft, melodic tune stops him. The music is haunting and beautiful. He follows the sound and finds Shin seated at a pavilion, playing the guqin and singing gently. A gust of wind carries a piece of her clothing into the water. Ling rushes to retrieve it but quickly realizes the water is deep. Shin helps him out. She begins to seduce him, but Ling awkwardly resists her advances. As he studies her face, he notices her pale complexion. Assuming she is ill, he suggests she seek medical attention. Yin also hears the music and runs toward it. Sensing his approach, Shin disappears, leaving Ling alone at the pavilion. Ling grabs her guqin and runs after her. He finds her in the forest and asks why she is fleeing. She claims Yin is dangerous and will kill them if he finds them together. A cobra suddenly strikes. Ling steps in front of her and tries to shield her, but the snake turns on him. Before it can do serious harm, Shin swiftly throws it aside. They continue running through the forest. Ling insists on accompanying her so she will not be alone, but she refuses, saying her family would not approve of her meeting strangers. Ling proposes a plan. He will create a diversion and lead Yin away while she escapes in another direction. Before parting, They exchange names and agree to meet again at the pavilion the following night. The plan fails. Yin hears Ling moving in the forest and mistakes him for Shin. He launches an attack. Shin, unable to stand by, intervenes, saving Ling. Yin warns that he will eventually capture her. Ling returns to the temple. Unknowingly, he enters through the doorway where he left the ladder propped against the door. When he forces the door open, the ladder crashes down, breaking part of the floor and creating an opening to the basement below. He hears the strange noises again and cautiously peers into the darkness, but sees nothing. He drags a wooden board over the hole, barely covering it. The next morning, Yin arrives at the temple, warning him sternly to leave the temple. Yin warns him that the temple is haunted and urges him to leave immediately. Ling refuses to believe him and questions why nothing happened the previous night. Ling insists on staying. Yin threatens him, though his true intention is to protect him. Later, Ling decides to fabricate figures in his debt book to recover money from the debtor. While writing, he hears the strange noises again. He leans over the opening to look and accidentally drops his ink into the basement. Determined to retrieve it, he lowers the ladder and climbs down. The basement is dark and damp. The ghosts begin to close in on him, reaching from behind him. Yet through sheer clumsiness, he keeps shifting position at the last second, causing their grasp to miss him repeatedly. Still searching for his ink, he notices a sealed window. He forces it open, allowing sunlight to flood the room. The light instantly causes the spirits following him to melt away. Unaware of what's happening behind him, Ling stretches comfortably in the warmth. When he turns around, he finds his ink pad covered in a strange, foamy substance. He recoils at the smell when he picks it up, completely ignorant of what has just occurred. Ling heads back to town to collect the debt from the innkeeper who had thrown him out. The man is stunned to learn that Ling survived a night at the abandoned temple. Without hesitation, he pays what he owes. The surrounding townspeople watch in disbelief. That night, Ling prepares to meet Shin at the pavilion. Afraid of the wolves, he carries 3 lanterns and runs through the forest, chanting loudly to mask his fear. From a tree above, Shin watches him with quiet amusement at his forced bravery. Her expression suddenly changes. She senses danger rising from the river ahead of him. A dark presence begins to emerge from the water along his path. To protect him, she rushes back to her house and begins playing the guqin. The melody redirects Ling. Hearing the music, he turns back and follows the sound. He arrives at her house. Shin stands outside, tense and cautious. She does not invite him in. Ling, unwilling to leave, steps inside anyway. Hearing approaching footsteps, Shin quickly hides him inside her bathtub and presses him beneath the water just before her sisters enter. Moments later, a towering woman storms in. She is a tree demoness. The tree demoness confronts Shin and produces a torn piece of cloth bearing a warning message Shin had written to Ling, urging him to leave the dangerous area. Enraged, she lashes Shin for protecting him. It becomes clear that the tree demoness is the creature responsible for the earlier death of the man at the river. She uses the young women to lure men. When the men lower their guard, she appears and drains their life force with her monstrous tongue, absorbing their energy to extend her own life. Ling survived only because he resisted Shin's earlier advances and treated her with genuine kindness. His restraint and sincerity stirred real affection in her. Now she risks everything to keep him alive, even as he unknowingly places himself in danger. Hidden in the bath, Ling repeatedly lifts his head for air. Shin forces him back under each time to silence him. When one suspicious sister and the tree demoness sense something unusual, Shin distracts them and prevents them from discovering him. Before leaving, the tree demoness announces that Shin will marry the Black Mountain Demon in 3 days. She orders her to prepare. Once the house is clear, Shin rushes Ling out and promises to meet him again at the pavilion. A few moments later, Shin meets him at the pier and hands him a painting of herself. Ling understands it as a farewell. He begs her to leave with him and escape the forced marriage. Seeing that he refuses to let go, Shin hardens her tone and speaks cruelly to drive him away. Hurt and angry, Ling leaves. Back in town, Ling notices a wanted poster displaying Yin's face, labeling him a murderer. His thoughts immediately return to Shin. He fears she may be in danger. Spotting a horse nearby, he knocks the rider off, mounts it, and races back toward the forest. When he arrives, he calls out to Shin. She appears, and they return together to the pavilion. She learns that he came back to save her and is visibly moved. They share an intimate moment. Ling takes an anklet around her ankle and shakes it, producing a soft chime. Despite her warning, he does it again. Shin grows anxious and urges him to leave immediately. He refuses. Desperate to push him away, she reveals to him that she is not mortal. Ling rejects the claim and refuses to believe her. She retreats from him, but he follows. With no other choice, she forcefully pushes him back and disappears into the night. As Ling leaves the pavilion, he spots one of Shin's sisters standing in the forest. He mistakes her for Shin and approaches without caution. When he turns to walk away, she suddenly attacks him. Ling remains unaware of the danger until Yin appears and intervenes. Yin swiftly kills her. Moments later, Shin appears. Ling pulls her onto a horse and rides off with her. After only a few strides, he realizes she is no longer behind him. She has vanished without a trace. Determined to act, Ling rushes to the magistrate court to report Yin, claiming he has found the murderer. The officials are confused. They inform him that the suspect has already been arrested. They bring out the prisoner, who closely resembles Yin. Just then, Yin himself appears at the court. Ling panics, convinced the man intends to kill him. Yin explains that the person he saw him kill was not human, but a ghost. He adds that Shin is also a spirit. Ling refuses to believe it, insisting she lives behind the temple. Yin counters that no one lives there and that the area behind the temple is an abandoned graveyard. Ling remains in denial until Yin takes him to the site. There, Ling sees Shin's gravestone. The truth finally settles in. Her mysterious appearances, her sudden disappearances, and her strange behavior now make sense. Ling also learns that Yin is a Taoist priest dedicated to eliminating spirits. Yin asks Ling to help trap Shin and the tree demoness that night so he can destroy the monster once and for all. That evening, Ling remains at the abandoned temple. The same place that once felt normal now terrifies him. Fear overwhelms him, especially when Shin appears. He asks directly whether she is truly a ghost. She confirms it. In panic, he recites passages from the Diamond Sutra Yin gave him, trying to keep her at a distance. Shin is hurt. She sees that he now fears her and no longer trusts her. Through tears, she explains that she never harmed anyone by choice. The tree demoness controls everything. Shin reveals that she was born into a magistrate's family. During a journey, her family was ambushed. She was killed in the chaos. Her father buried her remains temporarily beneath a tree, but was murdered soon after. The tree demoness then trapped her, forcing her to lure men so their life force could be drained. Moved by her story, Ling promises to free her. Shin tells him that the only way she can escape is if her remains are properly buried in her family's village. Only then can she reincarnate as a mortal. Ling vows to retrieve her remains at dawn and return them home. Without warning, the tree demoness attacks. Shin throws herself between the monster and Ling. The tree demoness's massive tongue lashes through the temple, tearing down pillars and walls as she chases Ling relentlessly. Shin fights desperately, struggling to keep the creature's tongue from reaching Ling. For a brief moment, she manages to push him to safety, but the tree demoness catches him again. She hurls him against a tree. Dry branches twist and coil around his body, pinning him tightly to the trunk. Yin arrives just in time and cuts him free. A fierce battle erupts between Yin and the tree demoness. She repeatedly tries to reach Ling, but Yin blocks every attempt. With his enchanted sword, he slices through her tongue and severs her tentacle-like extensions. Wounded, the tree demoness retreats into the underworld, dragging Shin with her. Ling tries to follow, but Yin pulls him back, assuring him he has weakened the tree demoness and she will not be able to harm anyone for hundreds of years. But that is not what concerns Ling. He made a promise to Shin to retrieve her remains and begs Yin for help. Yin agrees. Together, they unearth Shin's urn from beneath the tree. They hurriedly head out before it gets dark. However, they find themselves trapped in circles, unable to escape. Yin explains that a powerful force is preventing them from leaving with the urn. After performing a ritual incantation, Yin breaks the illusion and they finally find their way out. They stop at an inn to rest. When they place the urn on the table, Xin appears. She and Ling embrace, overwhelmed with relief. Yin steps outside to give them privacy. Outside, Yin senses a surge of dark energy. He urges them to leave immediately. As they attempt to depart, a powerful force drags Xin back into the underworld. Yin and Ling follow without hesitation. In the spirit realm, Yin confronts warriors using his skills and fortified weapons. When they try to escape, the Black Mountain Lord seals every exit. Xin pleads for Ling and Yin's release. The Black Mountain Lord offers a condition. If she destroys her own urn and binds herself to him forever, he will spare them. Xin hesitates. Ling urges her not to give up her chance at freedom. The Black Mountain Lord seizes Ling and Yin's souls. Xin grabs Yin's enchanted sword and attacks. She strikes him and shatters the hold on the souls he captured, freeing them. The Black Mountain Lord retaliates with massive tendrils that stab and restrain them. During the struggle, he tears at Ling's clothing, scattering the pages of the Diamond Sutra hidden inside. The sacred text burns against the dark force, causing the Lord to recoil violently. Amid the chaos, they break free and escape back to the mortal world. Xin must return to her urn before sunlight touches her. If exposed to the sun, her spirit will scatter and she will lose her chance to reincarnate. Ling and Xin share a final, sad farewell. She disappears into the urn. In the aftermath, Ling travels to her village. He buries her remains properly near a hillside crest. He lights a joss stick and says a prayer for her. Yin stands quietly behind him. Though Ling longs to have her by his side, he accepts that this was the only way to free her soul and grant her peace. And that's how Ling freed Xin's soul. But what would you have done in his place? If you enjoyed this dark tale of love, danger, and the supernatural, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next haunting story.